And we are live. Hello everyone. I hope you can all hear and see me well. And I just had a notification to say we are live. So so good evening if you're in the UK. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever else you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in. My name is George Wyllie. I am a medium and a psychic. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to discuss a few things with you, probably over the next hour. Thank you, Trish. Probably over the next hour, I am going to go into detail about the differences between a medium and a psychic. I have been a member of the Warren Foundation for quite a while now. Chris is a wonderful friend, and last year when I was in America I was able to meet Chris and spend some time together, and I'm looking forward to doing the same again in a few weeks. So if you pay close attention to what I'm saying, I know that there'll be lots of comments coming through, as there already is. I have a note for myself to speak nice and slowly because, as you can tell, this Scottish accent can be quite hard for certain people to understand. So I'm going to really do my best to speak slowly. The thing is, I get really passionate about speaking about mediumship and psychic abilities, and I can get a little bit too excited. So if I am speaking a little bit too quickly, you guys let me know. Please like and share the page. Let people know that we are here. Education is at the foundation of the Warren Legacy Foundation's mission. Our job is to help people around the world, and please understand that this is not something we get paid for. This is something that we do to educate everyone who watches, and we try to build a community around the world that we can help people's help people learn and move forward. So working as a medium and a psychic, quite often people don't realise there is a difference. And that's something that I find really important when I'm watching the messages come through and the comments coming in on the page. A lot of people are misinterpreting or misunderstanding their own abilities. And the hard part is finding someone that can help you understand your abilities. I've been lucky enough to work around the world teaching students and educating students. I've been a medium for 18 years of my life, and I was very blessed to be, woken up to my gift at the age of 18, and that was something that I was not prepared for because I had no idea that it happened as a child. It was not with me. So telling people that I don't have memory of being a medium as a child from until the age of 9 was something that I found quite surprising when I did tell my mum when I was 18, I think I'm psychic, because that's all that I knew what it was at that time. And my mum, to no surprise, said, she knew that this would happen eventually. So my way of doing things was education and courses and learning, but also keeping myself sitting with my guides and sitting with my own power and understanding that as well. So my path has led me to meet some wonderful teachers around the world who bring their love of the passion of spirit. But also there's a lot of people out there doing this that have no clue what they're doing, that what they're doing is harming some people. So education is key. First thing I want to talk about is the power. Now, what as mediums, when we work, and maybe I should actually describe the differences, that might be better first. So this is probably the most important part of everything I'm going to say to break the two categories down. A psychic is someone that reads the soul of a person. So the psychic tunes into the auric field of the person, and they link soul to soul. So psychic energy always comes from in front of us, so we feel the pull, and sometimes people make the mistake where they think they're going mediumistically, but they're actually linking in psychically. So the energy pulls from our solar plexus, almost, if you can imagine it, from that centre part of our tummy, and it pulls us forward. And so a psychic is someone that tells the fortune, that predicts the future, that talks about your career path, your marriage, or your life's worries and troubles. And none of the psychic has anything to do with mediumship. So no psychic abilities have place with mediumship, because it's completely separate. Psychic energy comes from in front. We link into a sitter or a client or someone in the audience, soul to soul. So we get the opportunity to read the person psychically, and the psychic is never linked with the medium, because they're two separate things. A medium, is someone who links in with the spirit world. So spirit contact always comes from behind. So the spirit world always make their presence known from behind us, and they will link in with us, and they'll blend their energy with ours. If you want to think about, as a medium, we have to raise our vibration to meet the spirit world. So what we do is we lift what we call the power, which I'll talk about in a moment. We lift the power, and we lift our energy, and the spirit world lower their energy to meet us. And kind of that space in between is where all of the communication happens. So what we then do is as mediums, our job of a medium, if you're a medium and you speak to the spirit world, is to prove the existence of eternal life. Now that may be that I'm sitting with a client, and I'm reading for the client, and I can say to that woman that I have her mother in the spirit world, because the lady has stepped forward and she tells me that she is mum, and that mum may be passed in a particular way. Quite often I see a lot of mediums making the mistake of always looking for the cause of death to be the kind of the moment of, the wow factor that they're looking for. And quite often the people that I meet in the spirit world don't want to talk about how they died. They want to talk about memories. So they want to share this range of memories that they want to discuss. You may have that mother, and that mother was maybe she worked with textiles and fabric, and so she was a seamstress. So for 30 years of that lady's life, she may have just been a seamstress, and that could have been her thing. So she will want to discuss that. She'll also want to maybe discuss her other children, some grandchildren, and tell unique stories, and talk about maybe personal pieces of jewellery, clothing, maybe a tattoo that someone has had since she has been in the spirit world, to give acknowledgement. So a medium's job is to prove the existence of eternal life by talking about things that we should never know. So I'm always giving information about people in the spirit world that they want to share with their loved one or friend or family member that's sitting in front of me. But the psychic tunes into you, and the psychic doesn't have any contact from the spirit world. And quite often what people do is they mix up the two. So they will start, they'll go in psychically because they'll be drawn to the person's colour of their clothes that they're wearing. And so if they link into the psychically with someone, what they then do is they're linking in, and they're drawn in psychically first, and they'll start talking about the lady who's in front of them, and how that she's worried about her job progression. Then the spirit world will come forward, and then what they will do is they'll jump to the spirit world and then drop to the psychic and jump. So they'll kind of go between. Whereas I always feel if you need to be very honest with people and say, I am connected to you psychically. So as a medium, I always make sure I say to someone, I'm going to read you as a medium and talk about the spirit world. Should there be a situation where I drop out of my power and link in psychically, then I tell the client that, because they need to know, and you have to be very honest. In the UK, it's not legal to predict. It's against the law here to make predictions. I know around the world, especially in the States, etc., they are really big on, the prediction work and talking about things going forward in the person's life, and kind of that much about the spirit world. But there is a rise around the world where people's knowledge for mediumship and mediumistic abilities are really getting, the interest is growing. So you've heard me talk about the power. The power is something that we have to really, really understand to be a very, very good medium or psychic. So the power is something that we ignite within ourselves. We ignite the power, and what we do is we rise up through our chakras, and we offer our power to the spirit world. So as we build that power, I would suggest any one of my students that they would sit within the power, where they would sit in their own energy for at least twice a week. Maybe about, you don't have to sit long, but at least twice a week. So as we ignite our power, I would go from the root chakra to the sacral chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. Now, each of those chakras represent something that we would offer in our minds to the spirit world, because then we ignite the power, offer it to the spirit world, give thanks to them, which is the first thing we would do, is say thank you for them blessing us with the opportunity to bridge the gap between the two worlds. And so the root chakra is something that we ignite the power with. So, you know, we start by, and that's for grounding. We move to the sacral, and then you would work on that. You know, the sacral represents, you know, fertility and sexuality and creativity. The solar plexus is in the centre of the tummy, and the solar plexus is something that is the bed of our power. And that's for power. And then the heart chakra symbolises love, emotion, passion and feeling. The throat chakra for voice and communication. The third eye for clairvoyance, vision, clarity and sight. And the crown chakra for connectivity and thought and memory. So those are the ones that I sit in my power. Normally I would do kind of a mini lift of my power before I work with any client, but I sit at least twice a week. And that's separate from sitting with your guides, which is a whole other thing. So we sit with our power, igniting our energy, raising our vibration, and we're telling the spirit world, I've offered all of these faculties to you for you to use within our communication. There will not be any negative spirit, no dark energies, no presences coming forward, interfering with that, because your spirit guides are the ones that are there for you and helping you communicate, and those are the people that kind of the cog in the background keeping things going. And so then I give thanks to my guides, and I also give thanks to the spirit world, to the family, friends and loved ones who are going to step forward and blend their communication with mine. So they may use our faculties as they go forward, so that I know if a husband comes forward to speak to his wife, and I feel that love and that passion, that emotion, that is all coming, you know, from kind of, it doesn't come from the heart, but it's that symbolism where it's represented there, that it opens up, that I know that that husband can come forward and express his love for his wife. So that's kind of the basics of building the power. And it's something that I feel every student that I meet, quite often they have no idea how to do this exercise and going through the power building. And when I talk them through it, and then I have students message me saying, you know, this is something that I really was missing in my technicalities of working. So then when we're looking at building the power, then people often think about the clairs. I'll get to the psychic stuff soon. But the clairs, if you've never heard of them, there are 6 clairs that we use as sensitives. And some of them I can't pronounce quite well, but you'll know a few of them. So we have clairvoyance, which is always symbolised in the vision of the mind, which is the screen of the mind, and it's the sight. That's what we call the sight. So if you can imagine the YouTube video on the screen of your mind, so as you're receiving information from the spirit world, they drop this information into your mind, and it allows the screen of the mind to open up. So as we open up the screen of the mind, it allows us to see the memories and the images that they may want to impress on us. Now, I always say to mediums who I meet as they're working, do not close your eyes. Because what happens is, if you're closing your eyes as this information is coming to you, and you, for example, so if I seen, a rose, and then I would then think, oh, my grandmother's name was Rosemary, and then I think, oh, she's a Catholic, and she passed with lung cancer. So then my mind has dropped out of the power straight away by thinking about my grandmother, and my mind has wandered to my own memories of my grandmother. But what I do is, if I keep my eyes open and I see in the screen of my mind this rose, then I know there's a symbolism connected with the rose, or the name Rose connects to the person in front of me. So I would then allow the spirit world to drop more information into my clairvoyant vision, but also the claircognizance then comes into play. Claircognizance is the knowing. So it's kind of that thought process, which I'm mostly claircognizant, where the spirit world will drop the thought process into my mind, so I will be reliving their memories. So for example, if I have a gentleman who was a steel worker, he would drop that memory of working with steel into my mind, bearing in mind I've never worked as a steel worker. So as mediums, we're having to interpret the information as best as we can, and that's the biggest part of our job, is to be interpreters of the spirit world. So then the claircognizance is the thought process. So this man drops his memory of working in the steel industry into my mind, and then he starts to show me that he was working with large beams of steel. So I then know it's not just as an ironmonger. He worked maybe on a shipyard factory, or worked in building sites, building, large structures. And this man would then maybe show me the steel work, and then the clairvoyant vision comes into play at the same time. So the thought process coming in is also how the sound can kind of get in the way. So the next one is clairaudience. Now, many people around the world believe that they are clairaudient because they say, I hear the spirit world. And my challenge to them is, if you do hear the spirit world, then you can't get it wrong. Then the look of shock is on their face. So the clairaudience, it kind of happens in twofold. There is objective clairaudience, which is outside of the body. And then there is subjective clairaudience, which is the thought process in the mind. So I always say to people, let's use an example, I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. We all know that song, and we can start to hear that song playing in our mind. Now that's subjective clairaudience. Objective clairaudience is hearing the sound outside of the body, the way that you're hearing my voice right now is outside of your body. The spirit world, there is very few people alive on the earth today who are genuinely clairaudient objectively, because it's a very fine skill. So when the spirit will drop this song into my mind, it's actually the claircognizance that sorts it out. So the subjective clairaudience drops in, which is the song, and then my claircognizance sorts that out for me to know that that song is a memory or has a connection. And then I would have that gentleman backing that up by saying, this song was played for me at my funeral, it was chosen by my wife. So that's his thoughts running through my mind as he drops the song in, the subjective clairaudience allows it to build, and then the claircognizance sorts it out. That really sounds quite technical, and it is something that kind of loses people's minds. They get really lost, because it's quite a lot of technicalities. But I do say, for anyone who thinks they are clairaudient, please understand that you're most likely not hearing it outside of the body, because if you're hearing outside of the body, then, you have to really work on that, because it's something that you can't then get wrong as a medium. It would make my job so much easier if that was the case, rather than being claircognizant. But I enjoy the complexness of the way it works, because it makes it more interesting as we go forward. Then we have, now let me just make sure that I pronounce these right. So we have clairvoyance, which is sight, clairsentience, clairsentience, that's where I was going, sorry. Clairsentience is the feeling. So clairsentience we kind of place in where the solar plexus is, if you can put it anywhere in that thought process. And clairsentience is the feeling. So the main three that most mediums work with is clairvoyance, sight, claircognizance, the thought and the knowledge, and clairsentience is the feeling. So this gentleman who I was talking about dropping in the song and then talking about his wife choosing that, I will then feel the emotion coming from him allowing my clairsentience to ignite, and feeling that pouring out of me, the love for his wife sitting in front of him. It's not, so I don't know how he loves his wife, but I can try my best to put into words the feeling that I get with the thoughts and the visions that are coming at the same time. So it kind of all comes forward at once. Some may be stronger than others. Some readings I've done, I am, very visually pushed, but there's always clairsentience there. There is always feeling, because people weren't devoid of feeling. You don't have no feeling. They are full of feelings, regardless whether they're good or positive towards the person in front of you. So that we have all of the feeling, which is the clairsentience, which is something that's beautiful to feel when you do get that communication coming forward and that love being brought forward from the husband to the wife or the mother to the daughter, etc. Then we have, now this is the ones that I can't pronounce very well. Clairalience, I believe is the way to pronounce it, or alliance, I'm not too sure, which is smell. Kind of works the same as clairaudience, because the smell, very few people genuinely do smell outside of the body. A lot of times, for example, if we smell cigarette smoke, or tobacco or perfume fragrance, it's not that we smell it in the physical, it's that the thought is the smell, the clear alien's smell is kind of dropped into the mind, and the claircognizance sorts it out. Kind of the same idea as the clairaudience, and so is the last one, which is clairgustance, I believe it's pronounced, is the taste. I've made a note at the side so I didn't forget any, which is the taste. The same way if we taste, strawberries, or if I was to say to you now, remember when you the last time you had a strawberry and your mouth watered, or you had some sorbet or something that ignites your taste buds. But the thought is that the memory is ignited with that thought, and it's the same with the spirit world. We'll drop that thought of strawberries in your mind, and then your mouth will water, and taste will come into that as well. So clairaudience, clair alliance or aliens, and clairgustance are all three of them, which is the hearing, the smell, and the taste, all work alongside the claircognizance really in play. So, and the clairvoyance is the vision, the sight, and the imagery, and clair knowing, which is, excuse me, the clair excuse me, the claircognizance, which is the clair knowing, which is the thought process working there, and then the clairsentience. So I know from that alone you'll probably have lots of questions, and I will be taking some questions at the end. But I will do my best to try and go through the comments over the next few days to try and get back to everyone as best as I can. But I'm not done yet, so don't worry. So that's kind of covering what we need as structure with the power building and the clairs, which are the mediumship side of things. I talk a lot about mediumship because I work very, fluidly as a medium, and that's my full-time job. But to be a good medium, you have to be an amazing psychic. And that's something that kind of people forget. So psychics are a whole other ballgame from what mediumship is. So if we look at psychics, then the word psychic is the means of soul. So it means to read the soul of someone and to link into the soul. Now, bearing in mind, everyone, there is no scary people, there's no dark entities, there is no negative energies connected with any of this. Very few people actually genuinely are experiencing negative energy or negative disturbances, etc. I'm going to give you an example before I talk about psychic work, because I feel it's really important. There was a house that I lived in. I was only talking about this yesterday, and it's why it's really important in my mind to talk about, because I thought it was really key to remember. I lived in a house. I had not long moved into the house, and the house had stairwell in the middle of the home, and above the living area was bedroom 1. To the other side of the house was bedroom 2, and the bathroom is just next to that. I moved in, and what I realised quite quickly was that I knew that there was something that happened in this home. I then found out that the previous occupant had been murdered. The people had started to attack the young man next door, dragged his body through, and completely and utterly tortured the young man, and he was found inside the bathtub. So they dragged his body upstairs, and they had written their names in blood on the wall. Really, really sick stuff. So I'm in this house, and I'm decorating and getting things done, and I was really aware that there was a lot of activity starting to build. There was, I could hear footsteps. I would hear the door opening in bedroom 1, footsteps going across to bedroom 2, and the door being closed. And I didn't feel scared, I would go into the kitchen and the drawers would be open, or the cupboard would be open, the chair would be moved. Nothing really bothered me, nothing really made me scared with that. I just felt that there was stuff to be done. So eventually I decided I need to speak to this young man. It was a young man. I ended up finding out about the house, but then when I was linking in with him, he really opened up. All this activity was this young man was trying to get my attention because he wanted to speak to his mum. He wanted to let his mum know that he was okay. And his mum actually lived in the same town as me, and I put something on social media to say, hey, I live in this house. Sadly this stuff happened. Could anyone help? And this is a really important lesson for anyone who thinks they may be experiencing bad stuff and thinking it's all demonic and negative when a lot of the times it's not. So eventually I found out, which is the weirdest thing in the world, is that this young man was obviously really getting my attention because I actually knew his aunt, his mum's sister. So very nervously I reached out and said, hey, I'm living in this house and all of this stuff is going on. And she was a huge believer in the spirit world. Would his mum come and speak to me, or could I go and speak to her? And she said no, the mum wouldn't. The mum was far too traumatised, which is understandable. But his aunt did, his mum's sister. She came to the house, which was a big traumatic experience for her alone. And we sat, and this young man was able to communicate his story and say what he wanted to say. And when I let his aunt out, I closed the door, I had a bang upstairs, and then I just felt this kind of rush of almost like, goosebumps. And then he was gone. So what happens is the spirit world may be getting people's attention, not for we want to give you a fright or we're here and we're demonic, but what they're actually doing is he was trying to get my attention to speak to his family. That was it. But a lot of people seem to go to the place of thinking it's always negative, and because of Hollywood, it's created this whole thing of everyone being terrified. But a lot of the time there is there's more of a natural thing than a supernatural, and sometimes when it is supernatural, it's not anything negative. And I know of something else where there was a young boy in spirit trying to get this family's attention. A medium down south of England went to the house, and there was the young boy who had died of drugs, and he was trying to get the attention of the family because the young teenage boy in the house was hiding drugs in the house. So the spirit world are trying to do what they can to really help, and it's sometimes they do make a little bit of a rattle just to get your attention, not always for a scary demonic reason, but actually to give help. But anyway, I thought that was a really important lesson to share, because quite often we're bombarded with questions, and if you're a medium or a psychic and people come to you, it's good to know that not everything is negative. There's so much more positive things there. And I deal with spirit people, dead people every day, but they're not hounding me. I don't go to the supermarket and they're coming to talk to me, because I'm disciplined and I'm not open. And when I open myself to work with a client, then I'm doing my power build to make sure that I'm good to go. So anyway, I thought that was a really nice piece of education. Let's go to the psychic stuff. So a psychic links into the energy of the person. It is the soul that is speaking. Remember, I was saying this earlier. So as we ignite our kind of energy in the sense, or tune into the energy field of the person in front of us, we're linking in and we're having impressions. So the clairvoyance will come into play there as well, and so will the claircognizance, but it is the soul that rises and speaks to us as well. So our conscious mind often gets in the way as well. So your conscious mind has to really be in play, but you have to be sharp that you're not then giving advice, because as a psychic and we link into someone, we could be tuning into a husband who wants to leave his wife. And so then all you're picking up is all of the thing to do with the affair. You might tell him what you want to hear, what he wants to hear, but not what needs to be said. And it may be more than just leaving his wife, but that his wife is going through something and there's a lot more depth to it. So quite often we have to be aware that we're not just gracing the auric field and linking into someone psychically and picking up what they need right now, as opposed to going deep into that. And it is about a blending of energies. It really is. I'm not big on holding hands or anything like that. I just sit with the client. Some people like to use tarot cards or oracle cards. I think they're a great way if you're doing a reading to allow your vision to expand and maybe see. I wouldn't get complicated by using 3 and 4 and 5 different decks in one sitting. Stick to maybe one deck of oracle and one deck of tarot. And I know when I use the tarot, which I don't use them very often to be fair, but I see things kind of almost, my vision picks up and I see things and it means something unique to the story that we're telling. I think in a psychic setting, they're quite good to allow a path of a journey. But we have to think about linking in and what we're getting right and what we're getting wrong. So I have more notes beside me so I don't forget anything. what happens is, as the medium or the psychic, as we link into someone doing a psychic reading, the danger we have from the client is the recall. So this is both on mediumship and psychic. The recall is their memory and remembering things and giving us feedback. So as the psychic, what we have to do is cover a range of information, and also as a medium, but they're slightly different. So as a psychic, this, if you have a pen and paper, this may be quite good for you to take bullet points on. What we'll pick up is attitude, personality, bereavement, family information, emotional trauma, illness and conditions, mind journeys, I'll speak about that a little bit later, hobbies, and work. So these are the range of information that we will pick up from a person. Now, bearing in mind, a lot of times when people go and get psychic readings, it's a lot about what people need to hear for the moment, but it's almost what they need. They want to know about their love life, and they want to know about their job, and is their kids going to get into college? And that's kind of all well and done, but there's a lot more that happens in a person's life. So there may be family information that we pick up, that person has a breakage with they don't speak to the father, or someone may have an emotional trauma where there's traumatic instances from their childhood that are causing people blocks in their own life. They may have came to you because they have a bereavement, and they may not realise that you're not there to do a mediumship sitting. They might there because they need healing from the psychic sense, where you touch on the bereavement, but you won't have spirit coming in at that point if you're just doing a psychic sitting. Also, their personality. So what's important about their personality? They may be an extrovert. They may be very closed off. They may not also like to share. They may have secrets and quite a devious person. They may have quite a lot of attitude. They may be quite vocal. Illness and conditions. They may have issues that in their own life as well, that they may have hormone issues. They may have they may have physical conditions that we can't see, like MS or things like that. Hobbies, some people have really unique hobbies, and it's really interesting to me when I see things that I don't understand, because someone may collect bottle caps. And when you see something like that, it's trying to understand that. So it's really interesting as a psychic to then you see these things, you feel the excitement, and also their work as well. So everyone's job is different. Some people have a at-home job. Some people are CEO of a company. Some people are the backbone of society where they're working in places that they're very under recognised. People who work in the food industry quite often are taken for granted, and they're not appreciated. So that person may be feeling really deflated because they've been looking to move forward in their career, but you may also only pick up that desire of the career and wanting to move forward, but not actually what's right for them, which may be the deeper you dip into the psychic of someone, which is blending the energy and allowing and being disciplined and practicing. And a way to practice being a good psychic is, maybe asking people to pop something into an envelope. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a coloured card, a photograph, and ask that person, I want you to pop this in the envelope, and I want you to sit it on your dining table. And then you as the psychic will tune in, link in to that object, or you get someone that to help you with your development, and they pop something like that in an envelope and they hand it to you, and so you don't look at it, you just place it in your hands. And at this point, you can, as you're developing, you can close your eyes to trust the screen of the mind to build. But I always say, if you can, learn not with closing your eyes as best as you can, and then start to see what you feel. So I may feel, as I'm holding this card, lots of brightness and lots of joy and fresh and, sunshine. And, then I might start to see petals, and I then maybe hear a song that maybe makes me think of a particular person, that then links to the fact that in here is a lily, and that lilies represent, that they were laid on that person's coffin, or it's a sunflower and it speaks of children planting sunflowers and watching them grow, things like that. So that's really good if you get people to help you with exercises that way. Also, Other ways of building your psychic power is taking an object from someone, which is what we call psychometry. So if I was to hand someone this ring, which is my wedding ring, then I would be able to hand them the ring and say, not tell them anything. And what they do with psychometry is they kind of read the tapestry and the history of the object. To do psychometry well, the psychic should be able to say, this ring was bought for you on X date. It was bought by X of a person. You have had this ring for so many years, and since wearing this ring, you have went through maybe, and some things in my life will come up. Now, this ring is always an interesting one because this is actually my engagement ring, which then I have then continued to wear, which I got married with. And I have a separate wedding band, but I got married wearing this engagement ring because it brought me so much joy. So when I'm working with students, it's kind of a curveball because they expect that when I hand them it comes from my wedding finger, they're going to then just go down that route. Where if someone can really say, this ring was bought for you at a time that was not for your wedding, then I would be more interested, because then they're really linking into the tapestry of the object. It's like taking keys, a pair of spectacles, and these spectacles may have belonged to your grandfather, and you brought me these, and I will then read the tapestry of your grandfather, talking about his life and his memories and things that happened to this gentleman, because his imprint, his psychic energy, his aura has all imprinted on his glasses. But there is no spirit contact then. If I have the glasses belonging to the grandfather, for example, and at that point I feel grandfather stepping in, I would hand the glasses back. Same if it was a ring or a piece of keys or jumper or something. As soon as spirit come in, you hand the object back, because you're no longer reading psychically, you have connected with the spirit world. And that's really important to remember, that we have to be aware of telling the difference. So if we look at then making sure that as a psychic, we are giving the evidence to the sitter, and the sitter will also then have to respond, mediumship or psychic. And I believe that you should instruct your sitter to say yes, no, or I don't know, and nothing else, so that you're not being influenced in any way. So you have to remember that when they tell you things, we can be influenced by the things that they say, and you don't want that to be something that gets in the way. So I always say, if I give them a piece of information, this was your grandfather's pair of glasses, and they say yes, and then I say, your grandfather was a very heavy smoker, yes, and I know that he would have wore these glasses, and he would have I can see he's taped them in the middle, or it was always a thing that he done, or he pushed them always to one side, or just something unique. He was a man that loved, Frank Sinatra, because I'm then feeling this from the object, same as you would do psychically from the sitter, but not allowing them to then tell you if you get something wrong, that they then say, oh no, he didn't like Frank Sinatra, he liked Al Jolson. You don't want them to tell you that, because then they should just say, no, that's incorrect. And then you then would just look deeper, and the clairvoyant vision, the mind will expand to see all of that information. So it's really important that you stay focused and allow your sitter to do you the best job, and let you do the best job by not telling you too much. Then if we're looking at a mediumship reading, just jumping back to that, something that's very important is the range of information that's there. So that we have the ones we read before, but also we will have people coming through in the physical description of the way that they're dressed, or their age, or their height. I think that's something you have to be really careful with, because I can judge height wrong, you can judge my age wrong, and physical dress may give you an image of someone of when they were alive, but also then it may be a uniform that they may have wore. And it might be an apron they wore at work, but you might think the apron is because they were a housewife. So you have to just be careful and be as descriptive as possible. Illnesses and conditions and how they passed, some people in the spirit world will bring that forward. Unique evidence is the most exciting. Telling someone something that is so unique that you then have that wow factor that then makes you excited for doing your job right, that you're serving the spirit world correctly. Now, unique evidence may be a particular memory that is shared, that person, where they kept their jewellery. A mind journey is something that happens with a mediumship and a psychic sitting. Mediumship and mind journey is slightly different. A mind journey is your vision expanding enough to go into a house or a space and see the layout of the space as it is. A person in the spirit world may take you on the mind journey to their house. So quite often when I've worked with students, they've seen a garden gate. And they'll say, oh, there's a garden gate and it's closed. So your grandmother in the spirit world has the gate closed. And that gate closed, and then you go there and your mind, your conscious mind then starts to think, oh, the gate's closed, so there's a barrier. You're not being allowed in. Not the case at all, because why not say to the grandmother in the spirit world, is this your gate? If it's your gate, can we go up the path? And she will open the gate and take you into the house. And then she'll maybe show you around her home. And then she may want to look for unique evidence by taking you to where something particular is kept in a closet. Or opening a drawer and, inside that drawer is a particular piece of jewellery or a memory, like a photograph or a notepad or something unique, or the way that where she sat in her chair in her living room, the layout of the room. I enjoy mind journeys. It's something that happens to me a lot, and it gives me such excitement to get to share with people in the room or in an audience or a theatre, etc., when you're giving them the mind journey, because we're all on the journey together, and the person in front of you is the only person that knows the answer, but the whole room of 100 or a few hundred people are getting to be in tune and watch the journey unfold as I'm explaining, going through someone's home, opening closet doors, opening bedside drawers, and pulling out jewellery and photographs and notes and memories and, stamp collections and clothing that I would never know. So remember that those things are things that we want to talk about. So what I'm trying to do is really give you a kind of overall understanding of the difference between a psychic and a medium, and how all these technicalities work and how they come into play. The other things is relationships. When they come in, it's about them letting us know what side of the family they're on, so that I then know when the lady comes in, she tells me she's mum, and I know that, or she's grandmother, but she's grandmother on mum's side or on father's side, or she was the great grandmother who raised the girl who I'm speaking with. Kind of things that we want to look at. The person in front of you, the audience member, the private read, the sitter, their memory is the recall memory is the hardest part. Because I may be asking her to remember something from 20 years ago, which is really difficult, because a lot of times we can't remember what happened last Tuesday, never mind something that's unique memory, shared 20 years ago with the lady in the spirit world. But often I have clients go away and they come back and they are so excited to email and send private messages to tell me, things that they found out by speaking to other family members. They went and looked in closets and drawers and cabinets and found what we were looking for. So remember that there's way more to being a psychic or a medium than what most people think. They often make the misunderstanding that they're linking in and they're psychically trying to read people that they don't have anything that they know what to do. Also then what we have to think about is when we are able to view things, if we are, doing astral projection, which is quite often what people do in dream state, where we astral travel, we visit family members, we go to family members' homes, and we can then tell people, I had this dream and I seen this in your home, and then the person will say, well, actually, I've just decorated my home like that, or I've just done this, and, this is information you wouldn't know. And to astral travel or be able to remote view and see things, is also something that we're able to do as psychics. It's not the medium's job to do that; it's the psychic's job, because it's a different type of energy. So it's really interesting to get to think about that. Things that I always like to make sure that people remember when they're doing anything mediumship or psychically is being disciplined. Often we are receiving things that we don't understand, and this is why this Warren Legacy Foundation page is there, and the Psychic Support Group is there as well, to allow us to share our knowledge and to give what we can to you. So it's often quite, we're affected by people's emotions, and we have to be disciplined in closing ourselves off. And I'm going to give you a little tip on how to close yourself off. And please tag anyone you know in this video that you think that they may benefit, if you know they're going through problems like this, or they're having, that they may want to share from this education. When we are being disciplined and closing ourselves off, I always say, think of yourself being enveloped in, and kind of envision your mind in this white bubble of white light. And I always say to people, if you really want to see yourself being closed off, is imagine it having a zip. Some people see themselves bathed in feathers or bubble wrap, some people use. Some people see themselves in a smoke. I used to really get into the mindset of seeing the white light and that energy coming from the earth and raising up and enveloping me, and I used to just zip it up, and that was my way of saying, okay, I'm done for the day, I'm closed off, and I'm good. And I would say to students who are maybe very strong empaths and they're picking up things from people emotionally, to get into that exercise every night when you go to bed. It's hard when we get up in the morning because we're busier and we're getting out of bed and we're trying to organise and go on with our day. So when you go to bed, envision that bubble of white light coming around you and zipping it up, and just say to you in your mind that you're closing yourself off and you're containing your energy to protect yourself. And using that protective bubble just to keep you safe is something that people quite often don't even think it is as simple as that to protect. But doing it on the regular is something that will really help. Whether you set yourself a little reminder daily to do so, it takes seconds to do, and the discipline is what's important. The same as sitting in the power as a medium is important, and the discipline needs to come in. And also as a psychic, and sitting with your energy and you know, working and learning the experience and the tools and doing these things to help you understand your abilities. But quite often people think they are receiving one thing, or they are one thing, and they're actually not. Now, every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium, and that's the difference. Some people think they are talking to the spirit world, when actually they're just really good at reading people psychically, and they think they're getting the spirit world communicating, and you should know the difference if you are disciplined and you work hard. Your guides will never come in and kind of get in the way. If you're ever having a reading being done, it's really, really strange to me when people say that you're reading my spirit guide, because I really think that people want to have, you know, 13 spirit guides and everybody has an Indian or everybody has a famous person and all of this, when actually the spirit guides are with you from birth. They're not your grandmother who died when you were 3. That would be, your gran could come in and give, you know, inspiration. We have inspirers that come in and move us in our path in life and give us information that help us grow. And that's really important that you understand. So when you think about working with your guides are there to help make the mechanics of everything work. Now, the mechanics of mediumship is far too long. It's probably something I'll get into maybe another video, but understanding all of the mechanisms of a medium, and also, you know, understanding the mechanism of psychic, and maybe it's something that I can do as we go forward with these kind of lectures or you know, videos to help you understand about your gifts. Today was trying to just overview everything. Sitting in the power, working with your spirit guides, you know, two different things. Your power building is separate from working with the guides. But going to the white space, journey to the white space, now these are two things that I have, you know, I've done these as recordings that my students have got to be able to download, that then we can journey to the white space where you go and you sit with your guides and you sit with them and you learn from your guides. If you've got a problem with your mediumship, speak to your spirit guides, because that's what they're there for. My main spirit guide's name is Philip, and he is the one, like, he's a chemist, so he's there to make sure everything balances. The other two have really unique parts and portions of what they do to aid me as a medium. None of them are famous. None of them are, you know, Red Indians or monks or anything like that. They are just people who are in the spirit world. And what we understand as mediums is there is worlds within worlds. And what we know of is there are 7 worlds within worlds. Now, I can't remember them all because they're quite complex names. But the first stage that anyone would go to when they pass is the mental stage, where they learn to understand being that they don't have a physical body. So they have to learn to talk with no voice box. They have to communicate without the way that they know how to communicate. And people often then don't realise that the spirit world don't have a voice box, because they become part of the divine consciousness, and they're an etheric being, so then they communicate through the thought and the vision and the mind. And so when they pass to the spirit world, they may not fully understand that yet. It's, if they went tragically, then there's this sudden impact to the spirit world, and they're reunited by all their loved ones. And so then that kind of thing starts to become something that they're understanding, and they then have to learn, how to communicate. But also that gentleman's wife might be on the earth and grieving, and he's like, well, I want to be with my wife. But he has to then understand that being in the spirit world is where he's going to be, and learn how to communicate in his best way. Often we'll have people coming forward in the spirit world to a medium that has been there for a long time, because they know how to communicate. So it's always interesting to me when people are doing readings, and I'm watching and I'm linking in with them, and they are picking up things and seeing the excitement unfold in what they're doing. So I see lots of your commenting. It's not moving naturally for me. It's kind of jumping in blocks. So I know Chris has been on here kind of managing and moderating the comments, just to make sure that we're not kind of leaving anyone out. What I'm going to do, kind of as I'm kind of rounding up for the last 10-15 minutes, if you have any questions, I'm going to kind of concentrate and scroll. If you want to kind of start to post any questions that you may have, I will do my best to try and answer them, and really kind of feedback. I do see one here. Astral projection can be dangerous. So didn't Lorraine say that in one of her books that astral projection can be dangerous? Leave yourself open to everything. Don't teach like this, so you're putting people in danger. So Elizabeth, I'm definitely not teaching people to go and astral project. What I was talking about is people actually going and going through astral projection. It's certainly not something that I ever teach. It's not something that I talk about. It's just something that people sometimes they do, and they don't realise what they're doing. So my follow on from that was bubbling up and making sure that you're closing yourself off. It's not something that I've ever done in any workshops or lectures or any teaching, is to teach someone how to astral project. It's definitely something that happens to people a lot more naturally. Not that some people are very skilled at it. The people that I know that can go and see these things, I was using the paper going to someone's house as an example. Doing that is people that are very experienced and know exactly what they're doing, and have been doing this and have been sitting within this maybe for 20, 30 years and harnessing what they're doing. There is always, the goods and the bads with everything. I can only ever give my perspective, my point of view, and my opinion on my experience over the past 18 years. Not something that I like to do. It's not something that I do at all. It was something that I did do when I was really kind of open and I wasn't sure, and it was happening to me naturally. So what I've learned was the discipline of sitting, closing myself off, making sure that I said thank you, and was closing, pulling that screen of the mind back down, and not, when I start, I lift the veil, and I make sure that I close the veil back down, and that's me kind of done my thing to say to the spirit world, I'm now done. So let me try and go down to the most recent comments. Let me see. Is there anyone that has any questions? I'm trying to see if anyone has said anything. Okay. Oh, Renee, I think that's how I pronounce your name. You have a question here. I'm having difficulty with my own struggles with my abilities. It's consuming my life. And how do you know which ones do you know you have? Mine are bombarding me all at once. Renee, do you mean that the spirit world are bombarding you, or you're psychically picking up? Which way are things being picked up for you? Just so I can answer you correctly as best I can. I don't know. I think there's always a delay with this, so it may be that you hear this after I've kind of few moments after I've read it out. Probably best to answer both then, if I suppose that would help. So Renee has asked, the spirit world, there we go. Okay, so being bombarded by the spirit world, what you have to do is learn to, you know, as I say, contain yourself, see that white light coming up and making sure you're kind of zipping that up and closing yourself off. Something that I came across with someone that was experiencing that, not being able to shut off. She was quite a visual person, so she could visualize things quite easily, which is things were being, you know, quite coming to her quite overwhelmingly. So I said to her, well, she was quite a creative person. I said, well, put a hat on and see that hat as your cloak. You put the hat on when you go to bed at night. And then she came to me and she said, well, the lids of the hat kept popping open. And I said, well, pop a padlock on it. So she was using her vision and her mind to start creating this imagery where every night she got into this mindset. And at the same time as doing that, she was saying to the spirit world, you know, I'm now closed off for this evening and thank you, I'm done. If you're feeling that that kind of thing sounds a little bit crazy to some people, but people who are very visual, their mind is bombarded a lot, that those kind of weird things can really help. Because if you have a creative mind, then the you know, doing something simple is not enough kind of thing, because your mind then finds loopholes to find its way through it, and the conscious mind is always finding a path forward. So if you're having the spirit world bombard you, then the best thing to do, I would say, is don't sit in seance, don't use any objects, don't use any spirit boards, don't use any other ways of communicating, but only use yourself, because your spirit guides, your spirit people are trying to contact you. What to do is envision going to this white space that I speak about. There's a download link on my website, georgemedium.com, which might actually help you if you use that, because it talks you through how to get there. And actually it's too long to go through this, and I don't want to start going through it, and it does start to allow people start going on that journey. But maybe that would help you, because you want to meet your guides and speak to them, and you know, those are the ones that will be the ones there that will help you understand how to communicate. My way of closing off every day, as I said, I see the white light coming from the earth and I zip that up and I'm kind of done for the day. I would find that if you're disciplined and you know, and closing that off, the spirit world outside round about wouldn't tend to normally bother you, because you're then being disciplined and closing yourself off. I always say to people, the spirit world see everyone on the earth like light bulbs, and they see mediums like lighthouses. So they see us and they want to speak to us, but it's very rare that when you're disciplined, that quite often you're not picking up. The spirit world don't normally bombard people. Like, you know, I know on TV they show you that you're walking into a supermarket and, you know, they walk up to someone and say, you know, I've got your grandfather and he was like this. That tends to not happen to mediums outside the TV world, to be very honest, because when we're working for the spirit world, and the spirit world have an understanding, and all you have to say to the spirit world is, I'm happy to serve you as a medium and develop my skills, but you have to give me time to live my earthly life to then continue my spiritual journeys in other ways. Just being disciplined and sitting and closing yourself off and zipping yourself up in the white light, discipline that nightly, that's something you should then start to notice you're not picking up. Quite also, Renee, there's a good chance you may actually be picking up psychically or empath. You know, you're linking in. Actually, what you're thinking is that you're picking up spiritually, but you're really overwhelmed psychically. So again, closing yourself off will allow you to start containing in your own energy. You know, finding good meditation. Please understand that meditation is not for connecting with the spirit world. That's something that's really important. I'm glad I remembered to say. Meditation is passive. Power building is active. So to meditate, we take ourselves to a passive, relaxed state. And to power build, we ignite the power, and we're then linking with the spirit world. Because the spirit world, we're raising our vibration. So if you sit in meditation, you're becoming passive. So when people sit in meditation, it's to shut the spirit world out as well and contain ourselves and relax ourselves. Some people can't meditate. Sit in the silence. Set yourself a timer for 1 minute. Switch off the TV or put it on mute. Put your phone on silent, apart from the alarm. 1 minute. Some people can't find a minute. Find 30 seconds. Then next week, do 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes, whatever works for you, because you can then aim to build that to 5 minutes of sitting in silence, because then you've given yourself a minute more than you gave yourself yesterday, or 30 seconds more than you gave yourself yesterday. Kind of build at that and really close yourself down. And Renee, you're saying both, so I'm glad I touched on the psychic. you know, really closing yourself off with that white light, zipping up, padlock it up, you know, however you want to do it. Just use the visualization of your mind to really, really focus that. And you'll find that you're probably psychically picking up from people, not spiritually. And when the spirit world come in, it's only because your guides are really trying to come in and play, and like they're thinking, oh great, you're going to communicate for us. But your guides will never put you in a position where you're not going to be safe or feel comfortable. It doesn't work like that. So I hope that makes sense. Do we have any more questions? Let me see. Cindy Lou says, how long after someone passes are they able to come through? That, Cindy, is something that is really, really kind of on a sliding scale. I normally say to any client that contacts me, if someone has recently passed, say to any client to contact me again in 3 months' time. Go and take 3 months to heal, to grieve, to prepare yourself emotionally, and then come to see me. And I cannot promise that person may come through. It's really difficult because you may have someone in the spirit world that really believed in this, so their understanding of it is better than someone who was a non-believer, and the non-believer may come through and take some time. And you know, you have to understand, when they get to the spirit world, they need time to heal. They may have been dying of an illness, and they need to go, and they have to then mentally adjust to being in the spirit world, not having a physical body, being reunited with their family. There's all that, you know, reconnection with loved ones, making up. You know, they may have not spoken to someone for 30 years, and then the person passed, and then when they pass, they have to then make peace with each other. And then they have to start healing themselves, not healing themselves, but going through that healing journey of understanding that their body went through this traumatic experience of having, you know, a passing, and, you know, not letting it go, but just understanding and adjusting, and then also learning how to communicate through thought and through emotion and feeling and sight. So then that it may be that let's just say that someone's dad dies, and the dad is in the spirit world and he's only there 5 weeks. But the grandmother has been there for 17 years, so she's got experience on how to be in the spirit world. So she will come forward first and help dad come through. Gran may be there and open the link and start the conversation, but then she will bring dad forward and help and feed him power to really help him communicate. So it's kind of a sliding scale. It really just depends. I find people that are believers come forward a little bit quicker than non-believers. But I've been surprised. I've had people who are complete non-believers come through a week after they've passed. I did have a young man who passed tragically. Unfortunately, he was shot in the head, and that doesn't happen here in the UK, really at all. But it did, and this young man came through because he was really needing to let his loved one in the family in the room know that everything was okay. And so it is, Cindy, unfortunately, a real sliding scale. So yeah, Chris, absolutely, don't forget about grounding. Thank you. When I'm talking about visualizing the white light coming up and zipping ourselves up, I see that coming from the earth. That's just probably me forgetting to describe that. I see the roots of the earth coming up and wrapping around me, and seeing the emanation from the roots, from the heartbeat of the earth coming up and enveloping me in white light. But the grounding is the roots of the earth coming up. Now, I've had people thinking, oh my goodness, the roots are dragging me down. That's not the case. That's just their mind getting in the way and people's minds being overactive. That doesn't happen. But grounding, it all takes place in the same place as using this white light and this zipper kind of idea. Jen says, I was told when I was bombarded with visions and different GIF popping up going too fast, I was told to ask spirit guides and to step back and slow down. Absolutely, Jen. Yeah, when you're having too much, that's a fantastic piece of information. Just go to your guides and speak with your guides. Put on some nice music and just envision, as I said, it's something that's on my website. If you want to go and you want to download it, it's completely up to you. Maybe something that I look to in the future, doing something for the Warren Foundation, doing some audio downloads that we can get put together. Catherine says, we astral project subconsciously every night while we sleep. Absolutely. We are connected with silver lining, so our etheric body returns to its physical body. To learn to astral travel consciously, it takes a lot of time and you need to protect yourself. Absolutely. Definitely, Catherine. Catherine is one of our one of our moderators and one of our members on here, and it's great to have fellow mediums that actually have a great understanding. Catherine's understanding on this kind of thing is really, really good as well. So thank you for popping that in. Let me see. Just seeing if there's any more. Renee, you're very welcome. Chris has a question. What ability is it when someone sees colours in their heads? So each chakra has a colour, and quite often people mistake the colours. So the root chakra is red, the sacral chakra is orange, the solar plexus is kind of like a golden yellow, the heart chakra is green, the throat chakra is blue, the third eye chakra is violet, and the crown chakra is indigo. Quite often when we see colours coming forward, I know students will often, they'll maybe be doing aura workshops and they'll see someone surrounded in red and they think, oh my goodness, there's so much love around you. But actually when they realise the red is for grounding and the heart chakra is green. So when you see colours coming in, that's actually the clairvoyant vision leading you somewhere. So if you're seeing colours come through, it may be that in your clairvoyant vision, so I know when I see the auric field, I'm not lucky enough to see it with my naked eye. I see it in my clairvoyant vision. So I see when I'm looking at someone, I then start to look at them and I see a colour building and I then know, oh, okay, so that person is, there's a lot of psychic gift around them, or they're very clairvoyant, or there's a lot of emotional trauma there because I'm drawn into the sacral chakra with the sexuality, fertility, creativity energy. But I have to then look at that deeper and see where I'm going. So when you're seeing that colours in your head, you're possibly seeing the auras of someone. Aura colours, there's a really good, I don't have it to hand. You can download, if you type in human body illustration or sketch, there's one of like a person's body. It's just an outline drawing and it's the front and the back, and I get students to sit and use the clairvoyant vision to expand the vision and see if they can see the aura, and they start using coloured pencils, and I'll get them to really go naturally with the coloured pencils to shade and see. Some people draw really tight auras and really big, and sometimes it's really big all around their head and then it's really tight around certain parts of the body, and then we would look into that a lot deeper. George, what would you class this when you see colours in your third eye? Is linked to reading the auras or something else? Definitely picking up of the auras, definitely. But if I am communicating with the spirit world and I know that person in the spirit world comes forward, and as I'm sitting with a lady and the gentleman's coming in and he's talking, and then I start to see all this green come over, then I know that he's bringing a lot of love and he's going to go further with the feelings of love or emotion or trauma. But so you have to remember that not everything is one dimensional. The heart chakra symbolises way more than just love and passion. It has, loss and everything to do with the heart is all in there. So it's multi-layered. So you have to then expand that and go further and go deeper with that. Mark says you can even have people in the spirit world who have known you in a previous life. Mark, I'm not really big into previous life, so I don't know a lot about it. What I do know is when we talk about worlds within worlds, then it takes people to get to a certain point of choice where they want to be reborn, but we understand within the worlds within worlds that that's kind of almost at the last stage of things, or kind of near the end of that stage, of whether they choose to become a healer or a guide or they want to be reborn. So I don't know a lot about it. I know there's some amazing people that maybe Chris might know. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's just something for me. It's a little bit more interesting. I've not had it done because I'm really I just want to talk to mums and dads and grannies and granddads and brothers and sisters in the spirit world and reunite that rather than predict fortunes and stuff. The spirit world excite me. So people in the spirit world, my understanding is if they're still communicating with you, then they have not been reborn. If I'm speaking, if you're reading for me and my grandmother comes through, then she's not chosen in her path in the spirit world to be reborn yet because she's still communicating with you. Often people make a mistake though within residual energy, so people then think that there's trauma when mediums go into a home and they pick up something that's happened. We could be picking up residual energy. People who are sensitive can also pick that up. So if I, for example, if I murder someone in my living room and 50 years later I no longer am here and someone else lives in this house, they can come in and feel the imprint of that trauma, but they're not picking up the person's death or the person in the spirit world. They're picking up the tragedy that happened. Does that make sense? You know, so it's the trauma of what happened, and you know, they may pick up things about the person, but they may not be communicating with them. They're just picking up, it's like layers of a cake. Let me see. Vivica D. RD. I've had spirits follow me at school and trying to get my attention in church by bombarding me with their name. I usually tell them to go to another and please let me have time. What is a good stone to wear while I'm out and help stay grounded and shielded? Vivica, I'm not the most educated on crystals. There's a really, really good book called The Crystal Bible. It's quite a small book, but it's very, very thick, and it really gives a really insightful piece of lots of information on good stones. I don't know if Catherine, you know about crystals better than I do. I use an amethyst, and it's an amethyst tip, so it's clear quartz at one end, and amethyst at the other. Clear quartz is really good for sharpening your own energy. Amethyst helps ignite and helps sustain spiritual energy, you know, to do with mediumship and psychic energy. I would say have a look through the Crystal Bible. I believe you might be able to, you know, purchase it on Amazon, or it's not expensive. If anyone knows in the group, please share a screenshot of the Crystal Bible if you have it. That'd be really good so that Vivica can see it. I personally wear a clear quartz. That's something that I wear, and I use a clear quartz amethyst tip when I'm working with the spirit world. It's just something I use to help, you know, sustain my power if I'm having a little bit of a dip of a day. That's something that I kind of look at. How do you know what actual gifts do a person have? It's hard to figure out. Most people are a little bit lost by what their gifts are. They don't really know. And so it's not ever my job to help them figure out as such. As just helping them have the education and understanding so that they can then say, well, do you know, I'm actually more psychic than I am mediumship, or I'm very good at clairsentience. It's about, you know, trying things, but things that won't get you. Don't do anything stupid and get into things that are, dabble into things that are daft. Education is a huge thing. Finding good, reputable places that do have ways of helping people develop. Please understand, there's a lot of spiritual churches, sanctuaries and centres in the UK, lots of them. And to be very honest, half of the people that are running these places don't have a clue. And that's the biggest worry for me, is that there's a lot of huge lack of education. Vivica, something I wanted to say. Spirits follow you. Probably what's happening is you're just really a sensitive medium, and what's happening is you're picking up from people that are there. It's not that they're following you to pester you. There's probably a chance that they're coming in and they're dropping their thoughts in, their memories, are just because they can see you like this lighthouse. So do the part like where I said about zipping up or putting on a hat or something that you feel will help you shield yourself off. I know the hat sounds really silly, but if you have a really active imagination, it's a really good way to close that off. Especially because as a medium we raise our power, try and meditate. It will help bring your energy and focus your energy in, but you'll never meditate to connect with the spirit world. You actually meditate to close yourself down. That's a really good way to do it. It's about centering and grounding yourself. I have a video that Chris shared a few years ago about the chakras, I believe, and it might be quite good. I will share that on the page as well. If you're already there and you're beating me to it, you can do it, but I've got that and I'll share that to the page as well. Chris says, my grandmother was a devoted Catholic who believed her abilities came from God. When she got overwhelmed, she would give it to God. Absolutely. You have to remember the God source is inside us. We are part of that divine, and we are all part of this divine consciousness, this connection. And our journey as a human is to live a human life, to go back to the God source, and our soul is journeying back to that place. So it's the conscious mind that shapes the person and the personality and the human person that we are. So remember that all is shaped there. But our pure part is to be part of God. Whether you believe in God that comes from Jesus in the Bible, or the divine spirit, or Allah, or whatever it may be, your God is your God. And me and my belief is I'm a spiritualist, so I believe in the divine spirit, that God is in everything, and everything that we are and everything that we create is a part of that. So, you know, whether it be this bottle is created by someone's mind, it came to their mind to create that bottle in that way, to do, you know, all of these things is all part of the divine. So everything has a touch of God in it. And we have to make sure that we don't always blame everything to the spirit world, or to the bad demonic entities or spirits. Is that we have to take personal responsibility and look for the human answers and the human ways and things. But also, when we are overwhelmed, you can say to your guides and say, listen, I know that you're there, I may not have met you yet, and I don't know how to journey to you yet, but I want to say thank you, but can you just shut these things off? And your guides will make sure they keep you good. Guides, I understand gates all the time. Fab. Jasmine, I've had people tell me I have blue to purple surrounding me, as in colouring. So if you look at colouring and representation with the chakras, purple would be you know, to do with clairvoyance and psychic and spiritual energy, and the blue is to do with thought, is the voice, so communication, and the throat chakras is here is the blue, so it represents, as you know, you're going to have to communicate psychically or mediumship, or you have to focus on your own communication to be a better, you know, psychic or medium or spiritualist, is working on your voice and communication. Chris says we'll be doing a demonstration of hypnotic regression into past lives on the Warren Foundation podcast on Patreon coming in October. Fab. Just before I kind of wrap things up, Catherine does say black onyx, blacks tourmaline, blacks I can't pronounce this out, the last one to be grounded. Kyanite. Kyanite, I believe that is. I will be lucky enough in a few weeks. I will be with Chris at his home, and we will be doing a live video from the Warren Foundation page and the Psychic Group page, where we will be having a conversation, feeding on from what we've spoke about today. You get to meet me. We get to spend some time together again as friends. And we're also, you know, giving our devotion to everyone here. So that is on August 27th. So that will be US time. So we'll have a post before all that. Don't worry, we'll keep you informed. Make sure you click the following button on the like page of the Warren Foundation like page and hit see first to always keep up to date with everything that we're doing. Obsidian and tourmaline, as Chris is saying. Amethyst or black obsidian. Thank you everyone for dropping in. Hi Lisa. Jen says, I go to a spiritual church in the UK as what I was brought up with as a daughter and a great-granddaughter of a medium. Jen, amazing. I love, thank you, welcome. So thank you very much, Jen. It's great because I know people around the world, we don't have a lot of you don't have the opportunity to visit spiritual churches, sanctuaries or centres. So please do your research and try and find, I know there is a few dotted about the UK. If you are in the kind of New Jersey area, I know personally the Montclair Metaphysical Centre, Montclair Psychic School is somewhere that I will be coming in August, where you get to actually meet me. I'm doing a demonstration, so you can also come and see me if you want to see me there. If you want to, you know, just drop a message and say hi. You can find me at georgemedium.com, which is my social media link is on there. I know Chris tagged me, which is my personal page. I don't accept friend requests from anyone outside of my family on that page. So what I will say is, if you want to stay up to date with me, I know lots of people have been adding me as a friend, please go onto georgemedium.com and hit my social media link for Facebook there. Or if you search George Wyllie Medium, I know my surname is a bit strange, so it's Wyllie. If you search George Wyllie Medium on Facebook, you'll find my like page on there, just because I know lots of people have been trying to find out. So just before I wrap up, Chris says, these labels are very helpful for people to understand, but each psychic develops in their own ways. Their minds help them interpret their psychic gifts. George has given an amazing in-depth introduction, but you shouldn't let those labels define your gifts. Absolutely. You know, you guys get to take time to, I'm really making sure that I'm processing things. I've got notes all over, trying to make sure I don't forget anything. So remembering that the information I'm giving you is the base structures that are given across, you know, all of anywhere that teaches, and the things that I've learned as well, but breaking down the clairs, the chakras, the differences between a psychic and a medium, and what to expect when those things happen was the aim for today. It was a piece of education to kind of give you a basis on what happens and what goes on. We in the UK have the Arthur Findlay College, which is kind of Hogwarts of the UK. There's a few, as I said, Montclair Metaphysical Centre in New Jersey have courses all the time, which is, if that's something you want to go and be part of a course to develop. I always say making sure if you're developing to make sure you're around good teachers. You're also making sure you're not watching a lot of crazy things on YouTube. If you are, do your homework. Don't watch one video and take it from that as how to do something. Do your research. Don't just take everything I'm saying. Look into what I'm saying and expand your knowledge. Look up the pioneers of the spiritual movement. The education from those people alone will be so insightful. Gordon Higginson, if you look him up on YouTube, sadly he passed away many years ago. There's lectures of his on YouTube. There's a Gordon Higginson page that you can go on, look up the pioneers of the mediumship spiritual movement and learn about their lives and how things came together. The birth of modern day mediumship was by the Fox sisters in New Jersey, so you know that's something that's really, really interesting as well for people stateside. Let me see. So I think I thought Hogwarts was in the UK. Yes, but we have a real Hogwarts, Chris. We have the Arthur Findlay College, which is a college that was, you know, gifted by Arthur Findlay himself for the research of psychical studies and understanding people, a place for a centre for them to go and actually develop. I've been lucky enough to go. I've not been there yet, but I've been able to go and work with tutors from there. I've worked in Europe where I've got a chance to, you know, I learn from the students. You know, if you're in Europe as well, in Holland there is Desvanhof, which you can go and you can, Nicole de Haas, she runs Desvanhof, and all of the courses, a lot of the UK mentors and mediums come from Arthur Findlay, go to Desvanhof, they go to New Jersey. So please understand that there is places all over that you can go. I'm just checking that I haven't missed anything out. If I've missed your question, I apologise. I will try and get myself... I'll try and get answer questions over the next few days. I want to say thank you to everyone that stayed with us, that paid attention, that asked questions. If you were watching this via the Psychic support group and you've commented, I've not seen it because I'm posting from the Warren Legacy Foundation page. Please stay educated. Please stay safe. Don't do anything that puts you in harm's way. Take what I've gave you for the past hour and a half as knowledge that you can take from a base of a foundation. It's a lot more in depth when you actually get to work and develop as a medium. But please educate yourself on how to look after yourself. We have a small network of people that answer all of your information, your messages. So please give us time just to get back to you. Jen has said that she was part of a church. I wanted to shout out, well done. Jen actually had come from a family of mediums. I'm so gutted because I didn't get the chance. But please look out for yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and please, I know Chris is really overwhelmed with information of answering everyone, so just a bit of patience is all we ask. There is other people, moderators, that myself being one of them, that answer your questions as well, and everything that we don't understand, we reach out to each other, especially Chris, to find out information. 27th of August, have it in your diary. We will post about it on this page in the support group as well, that me and Chris will be in person in his home, where we'll get a chance to have a conversation about lots of things. Please, if you have any questions, make note of them and ask us on the day, because we will do a question answer point from there as well. Take care, be safe, be kind to yourself. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for giving me your time, and I hope you were able to understand me with my accent. Take care. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.